This 71 Cutlass is in a million different pieces, and today we have to try and get everything condensed into one piece, everything assembled on the car, because we are in this tiny garage and we do not have the space for everything to be laying around. Okay, so we've got the 454 bolted up to the Turbo 400. We did this in the last episode because we had to mock up the drivetrain in the car to make sure everything fit with the bracing kit that we did. So now we're gonna get the motor installed in the car, final mocked up. That way we can make sure everything fits inside the engine bay, along with making sure our drive shaft fits and we have all of the geometry of the drivetrain correct.
And when I say drivetrain geometry, I'm mainly talking about driveline angle. Driveline angle is important because it directly affects the efficiency, durability, and smooth operation of a vehicle's powertrain system. Not only that, it affects the U-joint functionality, vibrations in the drivetrain, and power transfer efficiency. And since we've already made a ton of custom modifications to the frame, we have to make sure that we have the perfect geometry angle on this Cutlass.
Okay, so drivetrain is all in. We also decided to get both of the headers mocked up because we are going to be doing exhaust in mock-up as well. And if we look underneath the car, drive shaft is in and it fits perfectly. So trans mount is all bolted up, everything looks good, and you can see those big headers, they look so nice. Now we're gonna be able to do all of our exhaust fabrication and everything down here while the body is in mock-up before we do any paint. Now that the drivetrain is in, we got the fenders out, the deck lid out, and then the doors are actually inside the car because now we're going to start mock assembling the Cutlass. We have to be careful when getting all these panels lined up because if you remember a couple episodes ago, I did all of the gaps. So all of our gaps are perfected. So if these body panels are in a different spot than where I did them when I did the gaps are gonna be all messed up. Not only that, the bodywork's gonna be messed up. So it's really important that I get these in the exact spot where they were before I start bodywork. Alrighty, doors are on and they are both lined up. You can see the gap looks really nice and even, and then it's even across the bottom. It fits perfectly against the rocker and then also fits perfectly against the quarter. So now that both of the doors are lined up, we're gonna move to getting the deck lid lined up next. And then after the deck lid, we're probably gonna move to the front end and start tinkering with that.
And just like that, half of the body panels have been assembled on the car. And looking back, I'm so glad we decided to do all the gaps on this car. This is when you start to see all of your hard work pay off. But don't fool yourself because we still have a long ways to go.
Okay, trunk is all the way bolted up, doors are done. Now it's time to move to our front end. Got the radiator support bolts right there, radiators over here, fenders are right there. When doing these high-end builds, it's really important you guys label and mark where all of your bolts and spacers go. These are all the bolts for the fenders right here, and they all have different shims to make the car line up. So I marked and labeled where all this goes. Now it's gonna be a lot easier for me to put this back together. So let's get this front end completely assembled.
Just by labeling and marking all of my shims and bolts, it's going to be so much easier to get this front end put back together. Now, talking about a lower quality restoration, you're really not going to need to worry about this, but since we're doing a high-end restoration where we've fine-tuned all of our gaps, we've flushed all of our panels, we're going to be blocking it all together, you really have to mark and label everything because it has to go back in the exact same spot that you had it in before. Now, this stuff takes a lot of time. You do not want to rush this process because you'll screw yourself in the steps ahead. Once I got this fender bolted into place, I realized that it was sitting a little bit back from the door, and I wasn't really happy with the fitment. So what I had to do was take off the fender, readjust my door one more time, and then go back and install that fender once again to check and make sure the gaps and the panel match was correct. But I promise if you take your time now, you're going to make your life so much easier when you start to do bodywork on your car.
Okay, front of the Cutlass is completely assembled. Everything actually looks really good. The gaps are all really decent. This gap looks pretty dang good all the way down. So everything is lined up exactly where we need it to be. It did take us a minute to get this stuff finally lined up. For some reason, whenever you take these cars apart, everything always changes. So you have to make tons of changes to make it all fit again, but that's just part of the game. So for those of you who are new to this build, this is a big block Chevy 454 that is going in this Oldsmobile Cutlass. We are, of course, supercharging this with that Vortex supercharger, and then I built all of the custom piping to route everything. So one of the things that I never really could mock up was this right here. This is our power steering pump. So it's a smaller one because on the big blocks, on the old motors, the power steering reservoir is with the pump and it comes up to about right here. And that is in the way of our supercharger bracket. So I got this smaller one. So we're probably going to start by mocking that up. We got to get the water pump on. We got to get everything mocked up to make sure it all fits, because we're also doing vintage air on this. And so we have to figure out where the AC compressor is going to go. So we're going to work on getting all of the front accessories mocked up, and then while we're doing that, we're gonna get the wheel wells and all of that in and just kind of get this front end put together. Okay, so we've been trying to get the power steering pump mocked up, and I'm missing a couple things out of the kit, so I ordered that. I got to go pick up some hardware, and then we'll be able to keep mocking that up. So we got to stop there. So we've been working on getting these wheel wells in that are custom made that I made a while ago. We actually went and bought 2 brand new ones because we're gonna extend them about 3 inches to cover up the wheels just so they look a little bit better. And then we also got hardware for our power steering pump so we can get that mocked up along with the superchargers, the brackets, and everything else, along with making a custom bracket to hold our radiator in place. This is the bracket that Mike kind of whipped out. He just did a small one to make sure it fits, and it'll sit about like that, covering up the entire top of the radiator, which is gonna look super nice. And then you can see those are the custom wheel wells that we built. So we're just gonna extend them so that they sit out a little bit farther and they cover up the tire so all of the mud and stuff doesn't get in the engine bay, it stays down there. So that's why we picked up both of these wheel wells, and then we've got a sheet of 16 gauge, and we're gonna use that to make the radiator shroud. So got a lot of work to do, but we're gonna try and knock out the wheel wells and try and get this radiator shroud. We're gonna try and get this radiator shroud all the way finished up. Okay, so we've made a little bit of progress on the 71 Cutlass. We got the grill mocked up because we're gonna be doing vintage air on this, and this is also boosted, so it has an intercooler, and we're gonna have to fit the AC condenser down in here. We wanted to get the grill mocked up to make sure everything's gonna fit. Other than that, Mike knocked out this really, really nice radiator cover right there. It pretty much is the top mount for the radiator support, but it's also kind of a beauty panel. We're gonna continue it off to here on both sides. We just have to get the wheel wells finished up first. But of course, I grabbed the wrong hardware, so we're waiting on a couple things to get all of this finished up in here. So while we're waiting, we're gonna start on the bodywork. We're gonna get the entire body prepped. The way that we're doing this is with a DA sander and with some 80 grit, and we're just going over it, making sure there's no shiny spots. So haven't hit this yet, but all of this is sanded and prepped. Once that's done, we'll go over everything by hand, and then we can start mud work. Okay, it's a new day. We got the hardware, so we're able to mock up everything on the front of this motor now. We had to go to Harbor Freight and pick up one of these pulley installer tools, and that is gonna get this pulley right on the end of our power steering pump. And then we're also going to be able to install our power steering block, and I got all the correct hardware, so we're gonna be able to do that now, along with bumper accessories and bumper bolts, because we have to get the front bumper hung. That way we can see where the fenders are actually supposed to sit, because the supports are gone, and we're gonna have to make some supports for the inside of the fender. Right here, you can see how much this moves on both sides. This side is in definitely a lot more. If you back up right here, you can see it. That side's super in, and this side is out a little bit more. So we need the bumper bracket on to see where that fender needs to go, and then we'll build the supports in there. So while Mike is getting the power steering pump installed, I'm gonna be working on getting this front bumper hung, and then we'll be able to get all of these supercharger accessories, the whole front drive, everything bolted up to the motor so we can see our clearances for our wheel wells and go from there. When you do custom work like this, you have to have everything mocked up to make sure it will actually work, or else if you skip this step, you'll screw yourself.
So like I said, in order for us to find out where our fenders were supposed to be, we have to get the front bumper mocked up. Once we got the front bumper mocked into place, we realized that these headlight buckets are actually supposed to go in first because they sit underneath the bumpers. So we pulled the bumper back off, and then we were able to get both of those headlight buckets bolted into place. After both of the headlight buckets were in, we were able to throw the front bumper back on again, make sure it was adjusted and all of the gaps on it were good. It was so cool to finally see the front end of the Cutlass completely mocked up. We can't wait to see this thing mocked up after paint.
Okay, but that'll pretty much be it for this video on the Cutlass. We got a lot done today. Not only did Mike get this radiator cover fabricated up and finished, we also managed to get our power steering pump mocked up and ready to go. So next video, we're gonna start mock assembling all of the other parts of the engine bay. The entire body is DA'd and ready to start body work. And then we got the entire front end of this car completely mock assembled. We had to do that just because of how the fenders are going to be pulled to line up with the front bumper. But it looks so good, and we really are happy with how this thing is coming out. So in the next video, we're gonna be doing a little bit more mock assembly and then hopefully getting started on some body work on this car. So thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video on the 71 Cutlass. Peace out.